Should someone who's a drug user be able to possess a firearm?
I'm not going to get into tit for tat on this. I'm just not going to. Go ahead.
So basically, she was being asked about whether or not Hunter Biden's lawyers, which is Joe Biden's son, may pursue a Second Amendment defense if he ends up being charged for buying a handgun while using crack cocaine. So they were saying, should drug users be able to possess firearms? And she basically wouldn't answer it, which I think is so interesting because it gets into this hot mess of a metric circle where they need to talk about drug policy, they need to talk about the Second Amendment, and they need to talk about the president's own son being involved in sort of this zone where he has been very punitive in the past.
Yeah, and this comes because Hunter Biden faces a probe from the Justice Department right now over a handgun that he purchased in 2018, a time when he has admitted he was often using crack cocaine. Drug users are federally prohibited from owning guns, and this is reported by the Free Beacon. But lawyers for Biden told the Justice Department that they will point to the Second Amendment as defense for his purchase if he's charged, arguing that the prohibition on gun purchases for drug users is unconstitutional because basically what happened is he admitted in his memoir that he was smoking crack every 15 minutes. That is a quote at the time. Yet on the gun purchase form, he said he was not a drug user. So he is dead to rights on a federal gun crime, which is pretty serious. And of course, the Biden administration has pushed for gun control, has defended a law that prohibits medical marijuana users from acquiring guns. And yet Hunter Biden's out here like, actually, Second Amendment should let me use crack cocaine and buy guns. And I find this very interesting because I'm of two minds on this. I'm torn. I don't think I support that law, but it bothers me that he hasn't been charged and arrested over it because he admitted to it. It's dead to rights, yet he's not getting it enforced against him so far, at least, because he's well connected and a child of privilege where, you know, a normal person who admitted openly to violating federal gun laws probably would be charged and might even go to jail for it. So I hate the double standard, the two-tier system of law for the elite and the little guy. That said, I mean, do I think drug use should disqualify you from your Second Amendment? No, I don't. But that is the law. So I kind of think, I don't know, like legally, it may be that there's longstanding precedent allowing the government to restrict drug users from owning guns. I don't really know what the precedent and the con law background there would be, but just on its merits, I certainly think this law is probably far too broad. But I have mixed feelings on it for the reasons I said.
Well, I don't have mixed feelings. I think the law is unequivocally wrong and immoral, but I can never claim to be merciful enough to not feel anything but sheer joy when people who have mandated these policies for other people have to face them themselves or see their loved ones face them, because that's usually the only time they finally recognize the wrong in their ways and turn around. Joe Biden has, through his policies and his advocacy, been responsible for countless people going to jail, being in jail and prison as we speak for this very thing. I saw Billy Binion from Reason Magazine actually this morning reporting on an update with the 6-year-old who shot his teacher recently. His mother is being charged because she legally bought marijuana. It was legal in her state, but she had legally bought marijuana and owned a gun in the home, and she's now being charged in a very similar circumstance. There are people who go to jail because they were using marijuana and were caught with a gun. Philando Castile was gunned down in broad daylight by a cop, and they used the excuse of him having maybe smoked marijuana sometime within the past 24 hours as an excuse for executing him for exercising his Second Amendment right. So people die over these policies. And Joe Biden and many Democrats have advocated for them for some time, all the while running their traps about systemic racism, which, by the way, Black people are far more likely to be charged with this kind of gun crime. And they receive larger sentences by, I think, 20% when they are charged with these kinds of gun crimes. So I think Hunter should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. I think he should serve time. And I think if you have a problem with that, Joe Biden, then you better get your butt out there and start working to change these laws and start getting these people out of jail and prison that are sitting there right now for things you advocated for and that your very son was doing, because you have the power as executor in chief to start exonerating people and getting them out. But I don't see that energy anywhere from this administration.
Maybe it will if Hunter gets convicted or whatever.
start a landslide where he just starts letting everybody out for this one particular crime. I mean, that's what you could
Or
expect.
you'll literally just pardon Hunter.
Ugh. It's a sorry place for the country to be. It really is. And I understand why people are so furious over the Hunter
But that's
Biden.
what I meant when I said I have mixed feelings about Hunter Biden, because I don't really think he did anything wrong. I mean, I don't think people should use crack cocaine, but I'm saying like owning a gun while also being a drug user, I don't think he did anything morally wrong there. But it is the law and everyone else gets enforced. So it's hard for me. It's like, do I want to see him suffer for that when I don't actually think he did anything wrong? But that is the law and he shouldn't get double standards from everyone else. That's what I have mixed feelings about.
Yeah, and I guess it's not fair for me to want somebody to suffer for the crimes of their father, but I can't say that I don't. Like, I think that Joe Biden deserves to watch his son go to jail for these kinds of things that he's backed. And I think that everybody else on the left watching this kind of thing go down better start checking themselves on their gun control advocacy, because all you end up doing for the most part is locking up innocent Black people when you claim to care about systemic racism. So tell this to all the Karens sitting in the Colorado Capitol right now. This is what the end result of your advocacy gets to.